folks, welcome back to our channel. This is Offgrid Van Life, where we look at lithium iron phosphate batteries, van conversions, and everything that's involved with helping you to get on the road, to find adventure, and most importantly, to be able to enjoy that coffee from an espresso machine or whatever the case is while you're in your van with an epic view. So if you have been following this channel for a little while, you'll remember that in the previous video that we did, the last video, we built this battery. So this is a prototype, a test battery that we are playing with and just trying to figure stuff out. Essentially, we're trying to help people firstly with kind of a tutorial and a how-to guide on how to build a sort of drop-in replacement type battery. We will be more than happy to link the components and stuff like that that we've used for this, and then we also offer the option of building high capacity batteries ourselves that we then sell to people. So if somebody doesn't want the hassle of trying to build a battery and figure all that out and learn sort of the nuts and bolts of building out these custom batteries, then we help people with that as well. And we have various options of custom batteries that we sell to people and just kind of be that middleman of helping them get a high capacity DIY battery, but not necessarily have to build it themselves. So all that said, in this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a high C test of this battery that we built in the last video. And so we're going to be connecting up to this 2000 watt Guyandel inverter. And just as an aside, if you're looking for a really good inverter for your van conversion, look for these Guyandel inverters. We use them extensively on our rigs, and this particular one we've used loads for testing batteries like this. We'll link it down in the description below. But yeah, we're going to get this all set up and then talk through the test that we're going to run.
So we've attached a Victron smart shunt onto the negative line here. That will enable us to determine the true capacity of these cells. So we're expecting these cells, in other tests of the identical batch of cells, we've come up with about 283, 282 amp hours. So they exceed the 280 that the cells are stated at. We'd expect a low C test to be about 285, 287, and yeah, so let's get on with it.
Okay, that's the inverter connected there. So turned on. Inverter is on. So we're going to take this little fan heater over here and plug it into the inverter. And just while we're doing that, we are going to check the Victron Smart Shunt and the Daily BMS app just to monitor things.
No current so far, 100% state of charge, 0 amp hours. So, and the Guyandel inverter is drawing 0.78 amps just to be on standby. So it's quite an efficient one, really.
Okay.
So turn to the first well, let's see what it draws.
That's just the fan, I think. I don't think it's actually a heater.
Okay. So
there we go.
Clicked on 80 amps. So
next click.
Might exceed the capacity, but let's try it. 158, 159. This is rated at 150, so it's doing quite well. We at 161. Let's see what the daily app says. It says we're on 167 amps, which is pretty darn good because it's only rated at 150.
Yeah. Leave it running, see what happens. Let's just show everyone on the screen here quickly. So if we spin that around, that's the Daily app. So you can see it's drawing just under 170 amps from the battery. And as we said, it's a Daily 150 amp BMS. So if we go back to the Victron Smart Shunt app, you can see there the draw on the current draw is pretty much around the same, 168 amps or just under 170 amps. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. We've exceeded the capacity of the BMS, but I think in light of the fact that this is a test to see how good this battery works and the case and everything. I think we'll leave it running. It'll deplete the battery in probably a couple of hours.
Just less than 2 hours.
Yeah, just short of 2 hours.
I'm going to put a temperature probe on the top of this just to keep an eye on the temperature of the top of the case. So we are 20 degrees at the moment.
Celsius.
Yeah.
And then one other thing we'll just show you quickly. And then these are the settings that we set on the Dali BMS. I'll show you on the screen there. So if you have a look, high voltage disconnect is 3.65 volts, low voltage disconnect is 2.5 volts, and various things. If I scroll across there to the temperature, those are pretty much what we would set on this battery. So if you have a Dali BMS, that's what we would recommend. Right, so I think we'll leave that running. We'll just monitor it, and we will update you guys as we get closer to the first test and just let you know how it did. Okay, so there we go. This first test is done, and we hit the capacity on the battery, 280 amp hours, before the BMS cut off and turned everything off, and obviously therefore protecting the cells. Some of the stuff that we've observed, so we started off the test by running this heater fan behind us here on the second setting, so the highest heating setting, which was pulling about 180 amps from the battery. Or was it 180? 170. 170 amps.
Over 170.
And the BMS is rated at 150 amps, so it was over. It was using more than the BMS's stated capacity, so we were just interested in watching that. But we just watched the temperature of the BMS and sort of all of the internal temperature in the battery and on all the cables just slowly rising, obviously, as it was using more than the BMS's capacity. And so when we hit 100 amp hours drawn from the battery, so just over a third of the capacity, we decided that we would slow things down a little bit, turn the heating fan down to the first setting, which was drawing
80 amps.
About 80 amps from the battery, and that was much more comfortable for the BMS to handle, and then it went all the way to the battery's stated capacity to be able to run that test. So all in all, successful. I mean, we've been drawing 80 amps from a battery on a big inverter like this. I mean, you're never going to run a heating fan like that in a camper or a van or something like that. So if you are not going to be running an inverter for something like a coffee machine or a hairdryer or something like that where you need really high capacity, 150 amp BMS on a battery system like this would be awesome. And I mean, it's really high capacity, as we've said before, 280 amp hours. It's a very impressive battery, even at that.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that we exceeded the capacity of the BMS for a good hour.
Yeah,
because we ran it for 100 amp hours, and we were really pleased with that performance. And then ran it again right down to the capacity of the cells and monitored the temperature. So the temperature was going up steadily, not unexpected. These cables got pretty hot. They got to about 60 degrees. They're rated at 200 degrees, so not a problem, but they did get to 60 degrees. I mean, it got to the point where you couldn't keep your finger on the terminal, just too hot here. And that's partly because it's a very big lug on this cable. Normally we change these to 35mm cables with 6mm lugs, and that generates less heat. So all in all, very pleased. I mean, if I was to say, is this battery going to be worth it? Definitely worth it. Building this out has been a really good thing. So it's standard drop-in replacement battery size with 150, rarely 150. I mean, we ran for 160 to 170 amps for a lot of the time on 150 amp BMS. Well pleased with Dali. Dali is a company that when they say that the BMS is 150, they mean it is 150 plus, not maybe up to 150. It is definitely 150 or more. The cells reached capacity. The heat build-up in here was quite acceptable, not a problem.
Once we were running it below the threshold of the BMS, so once we were running it at 80 amps draw, it was sitting at around 40 degrees Celsius inside the cells, or inside the battery case. And 80 amps is a high draw, make no mistake. That's not Mickey Mouse, that's doing a lot. You're running a 1 kilowatt heater for a few hours at that, and the temperature dropped down to around about 40 degrees centigrade. That was quite acceptable. So more tests to come, but hopefully this has been interesting for you. If you have any questions, then drop them into the comments below, and we'll get back to you. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.